attended my parents' 32nd anniversary dinner. Then my mom handed me a $2,000 bill. Have you ever gone to a family celebration expecting to make happy memories, only to walk away questioning whether you were ever truly part of the family? Because that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't ruin the dinner. I didn't cause a scene. I simply showed up to celebrate my parents' 32nd wedding anniversary. By the end of the night, my entire family was staring at me, and my own mother was demanding that I pay a $2,000 bill. The worst part? They had planned it before I even arrived. My name is Daniel, and this is how one family dinner permanently changed my relationship with the people who raised me. Growing up, I was always the dependable one. My older brother, Jason, was the favorite. My younger sister, Emily, could never do anything wrong. And me, I was the responsible child. The one people called whenever something needed fixing. Need someone to move furniture? Call Daniel. Need help paying a bill? Call Daniel. Need someone to drive across town because grandma's washing machine stopped working? Daniel will handle it. I didn't complain. I genuinely loved helping my family. Somewhere along the way, helping became expected, then expected became taken for. Granted, after college, I started my own accounting business. It wasn't glamorous, but it did well. Because I managed my money carefully, my family slowly started assuming I was wealthy. The truth was much less exciting. I wasn't rich. I was disciplined. There's a difference. Then one afternoon, my mother called. She sounded happier than I'd heard in months. She told me she was organizing a surprise dinner for her and Dad's 32nd anniversary. The entire family would be there. She wanted everyone together. Don't worry about bringing anything, she said. Just come celebrate with us. I smiled. It sounded nice. For once, there wasn't a hidden favor attached to the invitation, or so I thought. The restaurant was one of the nicest places in the city. Private dining room, beautiful decorations, live piano music. At least 20 family members had shown up. Cousins, uncles, aunts, even relatives I hadn't seen in years. Everyone seemed unusually friendly. People kept complimenting me, asking about work, talking about how successful I'd become. Looking back, that should have been my first warning. The dinner itself was wonderful. People laughed, shared old stories. My parents looked genuinely happy. For a few hours, everything felt normal. Then, dessert arrived. The staff brought out a huge anniversary cake. Everyone applauded. Champagne glasses were raised. My father gave a heartfelt speech about family always sticking together. People were emotional. Even I felt lucky to be there. Then the waiter placed a leather folder on the table. I assumed it was for my father. Instead, my mother picked it up, smiled, walked directly toward me, and placed it in front of me. Here you go, sweetheart. I looked at her, confused. What is this? She smiled like nothing was unusual. The bill. I laughed. I honestly thought she was joking. Nobody else laughed. I opened the folder. The total was just over $2,000. I looked around the room. Every single person was watching me. My mother folded her arms. We figured you'd take care of it. I blinked. What do you mean? My brother answered before she could. You make the most money. My sister nodded. It's only fair. Only fair? Those two words echoed in my head. I looked at my father. Surely he'd say something. Instead, he quietly looked down at the table. He already knew. They all did. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned, before I even walked into the restaurant. They had already decided I was paying. No one had asked. No one had warned me. They simply assumed. I took a deep breath, then asked one simple question. How much is everyone else contributing? Silence. Complete silence. My uncle finally shrugged. We thought you'd just cover it. Of course they did. Because that's what I'd always done. I solved problems. I paid when people came up short. I never argued. I never said no. So they assumed tonight would be no different. For a moment, I actually considered paying. Not because it was fair, because I wanted to avoid embarrassing my parents. Then I realized something. They weren't embarrassed. I was. They had no problem putting me in this position. So why was I protecting them? I closed the bill, pushed it gently back toward my mother, and calmly said, "I'm happy to pay for my meal." Then I placed enough cash on the table to cover my dinner, tax, and a generous tip. Nothing more. My mother's smile disappeared instantly. "What are you doing?" "Paying for what I ordered." Her voice became sharper. "Don't embarrass us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked around the room again. Nobody defended me. Nobody spoke. Then my brother sighed dramatically. "Seriously, Daniel? You're making this into a big deal?" I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because I finally understood something. This wasn't about money. It never had been. It was about entitlement. They didn't appreciate my generosity. They expected it. The moment generosity becomes an obligation, it's no longer generosity. I stood up, looked directly at my parents, and said something I'd wanted to say for years. I love helping people who appreciate it. I paused, but I'm done being everyone's wallet. Then I walked out. Behind me, I could hear arguments breaking out. Apparently, someone actually had to split the bill. Funny how quickly people discovered they had wallets. Once I left, for weeks afterward, my phone exploded. Some relatives called me selfish. Others said I'd ruined the anniversary. A few demanded I apologize. Not one person apologized to me. Until my father showed up at my apartment. He looked older, tired. He sat quietly for a few minutes before speaking. "I didn't know your mother planned that." I believed him. He apologized. A real apology. No excuses, no blaming anyone else. Then he admitted something painful. For years, he'd watched the family rely on me too much. He should have stopped it. He never did. That conversation changed everything. Not overnight, but slowly. My father and I became closer. The rest of the family, not so much. Some relationships faded. Others ended completely. And honestly, life became much more peaceful. Looking back now, that $2,000 bill was actually one of the cheapest lessons I've ever learned, because it showed me exactly how some people viewed me, not as a son, not as a brother, not as family, as a solution, as a bank account, as someone whose kindness could always be spent, the moment I stopped paying. They stopped pretending. And sometimes that's the greatest gift people can give you, the truth. If you've ever had family mistake your kindness for obligation, share your story in the comments below. Sometimes setting one boundary costs you relationships that were never built on respect in the first place.